It's so funny because I was literally talking about microphones and how annoying they are to me, and I ran into this problem. That we discovered it is possible to set it so that switching scenes changes your mic, but it's a lot of work, and I haven't done it. So every time I'm going to start and be talking to you all and forget the fact that I need to unmute myself first. So yes, please do clip me being a complete freaking idiot. So what I was saying is I noticed that in previous streams my mic had been what I was saying when you couldn't hear me was that my mic had been clipping a little bit. So I'm going to probably try. I've got this mic right here, but I didn't have it set up very well. But also I have to buy some more hardware for it because every time I do this, just watch, it just kind of swings right past because of gravity. So anyway, I turned down the audio on this one a little bit, so hopefully at least won't be clipping like last time. I don't know if starting muted and making a fool of myself is exactly what I want to be known for, but hey, you know, I can do it. All right, so one of my friends, Bo, has his chat on an iPad down here, which I think I like because I don't love the fact that I'm literally like doing this over here and like disappearing off the screen every time I look over at the chat. But anyway, hey Andrew, hey Philip. It's my brand as being a muted idiot. Awesome. That sounds like fun. I rearranged the UI elements on the stream a little bit. Hey Susanna. So if you all end up noticing anything being broken or not showing, let me know. I think it's all good, but we'll have to make sure. Thank you. Yeah, the new logo is by our designer, Noemi. She actually made that logo. Well, obviously, I'm better than the other one, Dyerbeck, so you should definitely stay with me. I mean, yeah, so Noemi actually made the new design for my new homepage for like mattstauffer.com, but I just yoinked it from her work so that I could throw it on here. So yeah, she's a pro, man. We had been working on that for a while. And I love it because it's like an M and an S and stuff. Oh, it makes me so happy. So, okay, so where are we on OnRamp? I'm remembering I need to zoom more. So one of the things that I did with this last one, I don't know, y'all don't care that much about Twitch stuff, is I made the chat wider because I was feeling really narrow. So that means we have a little bit less space for screen. So I'm going to try and zoom everything in. So if everything is, if it ends up being too small for y'all at all, just let me know. Hi, Hrach. I don't know how to say it, but hi. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, it's kind of funny for before the chat is on the screen, I'm chatting in Twitch to Twitch people and YouTube to YouTube people, but you all don't see each other. So it's definitely an interesting kind of like how to get everybody collaborating together in the chat there. That's an interesting challenge. So, okay, so this is where we are right now. So we're on this next steps document. And so the next things we're going to work on are adding the idea of the order of the modules within a track, and then figuring out what other things will need to be ordered. And we realize that it's pretty likely that other things in a system will need to be ordered. And right now, everything we built out is just relationships. This is a member of this is a member of that, this has many that, whatever. But it's just going to be ordered by the ID, and that's not always going to be right. So we're likely going to have to add a whole bunch of order columns so that we can manually kind of decide which one comes first, second, third, fourth, all that kind of stuff. I was pretty good. All right, I love it. So that is what we're going to do, but I realize that the best way to know when we're going to need it is actually just to build out the user interface for it and then start looking at what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So what I was thinking we could do is, I think we're going to ignore tracks for now, and we're just going to basically assume somebody is on the null track, which means you see everything, and we're going to spit out all the modules within that track on a list page and then allow you to tap into a module and then create the module page and kind of see what it looks like from there. So I actually made a sample module for anybody who wasn't here for the last one. And this I just built out in Tailwind to show my ideas of what an eventual module would look like. So if you imagine one of our modules is the build a website module, then you can also imagine that we've got these. So remember, quizzes and exercises we're not building yet. We're going to start with skills, which are the things once you feel like you have accomplished the ability to, or you've gained the ability to do these things, then that means you've accomplished the goal of this module. And then resources to help you gain those skills. And then later, the goal is for us to also give you quizzes to help you know academically whether you have these skills, and then exercises that let you know practically whether you have these skills. How often do you think order will change or modules tasks will be inserted because reordering can be tedious with just an int column? Yeah, it can be tedious, and that's going to be a big part of the question. It's exactly how we're going to handle that. So I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that I want the simplest possible solution because I think that it's not going to be a frequent thing at the beginning. One of the things is that reordering, if you're ordering something using an integer column, it is very easy to reorder it in a user interface. So, for example, if we were to use something like Nova to allow them to do that, but that's not always what you have. So for now, I'm just going to say if we insert things before, then we're just going to have to manually reorder them and then just kind of go from there. But that is a very, very good question, John. All right, so what we're basically going to try and do is build out this page and then a list page. So we already have a little bit of an idea of what the list page looks like because it's en/learn, because it's kind of like this. This is sort of what our tracks and modules high level ideas are going to look like. So I think what we will do first is build. Let's see, it probably won't be learn anymore. So let's start with just /modules, and I think let's just build it out there and see where that takes us. Okay, so we're going to build a route. Let's see, we can leave the learn controller here for now, but this is going to be delete because this is old. And also there is this home route that you almost never go to, except for when you first log in, and it really just says, hey, there's nothing here. So what we're going to do is basically, you know what, let's actually just do the list of modules here for now. I would also like to thank you for keeping your streams. Oh, if you mean for archiving them later, you are very welcome. I was a little bit nervous that having all these streams in my YouTube channel would make my YouTube channel feel a little bit cluttered, but nobody's complained yet, so hopefully that's not a problem. All right, so we've got our home page. We've got our learn route, and then we've got this logged in one, which is what we call home. So let's just throw in modules. Oops. And for now, this will just be the module controller. And then we can make the controller. So module controller. And then we've just got a index. And what we're going to basically do is just return a view. And we'll name that view modules.index. And if you're not familiar with Laravel, the dot indicator just is the same as the directory separator. So what this basically means is look for a view file in resources/views, which is where all the views live, and then /modules/index.php or index.blade.php. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say modules, and then we're going to make a new one named index.blade.php. Okay. So you get in there. So if you're not familiar with Blade, you usually have a layout, and this layout then leaves kind of holes in it that you pass data into with all your child layouts. So we've got a hole here called content, and so that's our primary one. There's different ways to do it, but the simplest way is if you've already built it, like we have here, you can go grab one like this and just copy it and just say, okay, the modules index page is going to look similar to that logged in dashboard, right? So this is going to be called modules. And I don't know what this is going to say, so to do. And this is obviously not going to be this big welcome, so stuff here, probably modules index. Okay, so we now have a module controller with an index method that returns a view that is resources views modules index. Then we've built that resources views module index, and what it does is it passes this chunk of content into this parent layout here. And then we now want to hook this route, which is going to be /en, because if you haven't been here before, one of the things that we already have is everything is prefixed by the locale, and so /en will give you en, /es will give you es in this locale prefix, and so that allows us to do localization. But once we get inside of this route group, now it's just our normal structure. So what we're saying is if you go to /en/modules, it's going to pass you off to the module controller in the index method. A module controller index method, which returns this view. Okay, so in theory, if we now go to /en/modules, we should see that. And great, there's that page that we just did. All right, so what we want to do here is list out all the modules. So the simplest way to do to get all the modules is just to pass it. Oops, trying to remember. Yeah, this is our current preferred way of doing it. So modules equals module all. Like that's the simplest possible way to do it. It's just you just grab your Eloquent model, you pull all of them out of it, and it's going to be passed in. It's not going to change anything here. But now in our blade view, we now can do something where we say, you know, and then for each modules as module, we can then do something. And we're not exactly sure what we're going to do in the end, but we can at least do a list item. And so we'll say something like module. I don't remember if we did it title or names. Let's just try it like that. So let's just go here. Oops, that was the wrong thing. I just refreshed. All right, so undefined variable module. So I probably did a typo. Yep, modules is modules instead of modules is module. All right, great. So here are our modules. Because we're in Tailwind, by default, our list items are unstyled. So anytime you're doing this, the new Tailwind CSS goes straight over to the doc. So you can just go here and hit slash, and then you want to just say like a list or something like that. There's in old lists, so in old Tailwind, which I'm more familiar with, it handled lists and their unstyledness different than they do in the current one. And I think there's like a relatively simple set of classes you should apply to lists in Tailwind to make them behave like you're used to. I don't think it's just this. I think you also have to add like a margin. Yeah. So let's just do like an ML4 or something like that. I think actually lists should be PL4. So basically what we said was apply the decoration of the disk and then give it a padding left. I actually want it a little bit further. Okay, cool. So that's what we're thinking right now. So this is basically going to be all of the modules that are available to you. So in theory, each of these is also going to link to the page for that module because you're never working, from this page. You are at any given moment going to be picking a particular module that's your currently active module. And that actually is an interesting idea is at any given moment, if I come back to OnRamp, I probably don't want to have to remember which module I'm in. I probably want to be working on one. So let's go to our next steps document and say, consider decide or whatever, are we going to allow for marking a given module as current? So it's just like a shortcut. Pierce, nice way. I love it. So yeah, so at any given moment, you're going to want to be in a particular module. The first thing we want to do is allow you to get into that module page. So let's go in here and we're going to build this link. So here what we need to do is link to that module. So we actually haven't built it yet, but we always want to use the route helper so that we're building more flexible URLs. And so the route will be named modules.show because that's the convention, and then we need to pass in the module ID. Speaking of things that I get wrong frequently, this is one of the ones where I always forget whether you can or can't pass in the ID and whether you can or can't pass it without an array around it. I'm almost 100% sure you can pass it with an array around it. I'm not almost 100% sure whether you can pass it without actually getting ID. So let's just try that. So this won't work because that route is not defined. Route modules.show not defined, right? You know what I should do? I should probably upgrade this to Laravel 6 so you all are getting more familiar with Ignition and some of the more Laravel 6y type stuff. You can without arrays. Yep, thanks. I think I actually know who you are, VOSN, but I'm not sure. So sorry for any of y'all who I've learned what your handle, who you are as a person behind the handle, and then I forget. I'm not very good at remembering those things. All right, so what we do is we go to here and we now want to build out our module show page. So route get modules/module, and then that will be the show page, right? So this is going to be module controller. But instead of at index, it's going to be at show. And so then we come in here and we public function show. Now I think we can't just do module like this because I think actually because we've got this being mapped by the group, the first thing it's going to get is actually the locale. So I think it's going to be locale and then module. And then we're going to basically say return view, modules.show. What are we going to pass in? We're going to pass in the module. And if you're not familiar with route parameter binding, what you basically say is if you type hint the module here, then it knows to expect that this parameter that's getting passed in is actually going to uniquely identify a module. And then we don't have to perform an eloquent lookup. We can just go like this. Boom. Got it. Thanks for routing in for L6. Thanks for routing in for L6. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I do think that we should upgrade to L6 soon. I won't do that on a stream because that's not worth you all watching me do, but I do think we should definitely do that. All right, unexpected auth, that means I forgot a semicolon. Okay. All right, routes modules.show.define. Now that is because while we built this route, we didn't actually give it its shortcut. Now, when I have a group of routes that are all going to be similar, both URL prefix and name prefix, I put them in a route group. So do route group. Speaking of things that have changed multiple times over time, route group syntax has changed quite a few times. But I'm pretty sure that what we're going to do is pass an array as the first parameter that defines it. Yeah, you can see up there. And so we're going to, one of the things is the prefix versus as has changed over time, like what naming we're using for these things. But I'm pretty sure the prefix here is going to be modules. And then I think it's going to be as, but not name, but I'm not sure. And it'll be basically modules dot. And so what this does is it prefixes the name of the route with modules dot. So here we get rid of that, and we just do a slash. Here we get rid of that. We just do that, and then we'll do, and again, this is one of the ones where it's like it's been name at times, it's been as at times. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be index. Pretty sure this is going to be show, and we'll just see how that treats us. All right, missing parameters for show. Oh, this is the thing where, hey, hike. Hope I said that right. Welcome. So I think this is the thing where when you're using route, it expects you to pass all the parameters. But remember what we said here is this parameter for locale is a parameter. So in theory, we have to pass in actually a locale and the module. But doing that every time is a pain in the butt. So I actually made some helpers. And if you're interested in how I did this whole localization thing, there's basically a pull request that you can see to see the full history of how I built this localization system. So Claudia had built a simpler localization system, and I'm really grateful for her work there. And what I did in this pull request, which is number 33, is I built a much more robust localization system. That what she built was one that worked really well on the learn page, but the rest of the site wasn't localized. So what I did in this pull request was basically localize the whole rest of the site, including adding new route or new methods named path with locale and route with locale. And what that does is it basically shortcuts so that you don't have to always pass in the locale to everything you're ever building. Instead, you just do this and you see a route with locale. I think that was what it was, right? Route underscore with locale. Yep. Right here. Hey, Shahid, I think I said that right. Well, you all are testing my ability to not make a fool of myself on your names. I'm sorry if I massacre any of them, and I'd love for you to correct me if I get it wrong. All right, so argument 1 is not an array. Oh, okay. So while you don't, oh, interesting. So one of the things that we noted earlier is that this doesn't have to have an array around it in the route helper, but in mine it does. So that means I actually should fix mine to allow it not to be an array. So you basically say if is array parameters, then parameters equals and then parameters. And so what you do is, just like we were talking about route doing, it allows you to pass in a non-array version of this. And if you do, it just wraps it in an array, so it still functions. Said it right, go me. All right, great. So we're back to the place where this, and look at that, modules 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I don't actually really like that being the URL structure. I would rather it be en/module/build a basic website, which means we have to add slugs to our modules so that we can, because like you'd want it to be build a basic website up here, but if you do that, then you need to make that happen. But hold on a second, we don't see that. Oh, we didn't make that view yet. Okay, so let's make that view really quickly. And we'll just duplicate the index one because it's the easiest way to do it. And then this will be the module name. And this will be, I don't know. And then this will be basically like that to convert this to look like our Tailwind sample module page. Okay, cool. So we go here and look at us. We've got the module for build a basic website. Go team. So modules, you click on this one. Ooh, that link style isn't great. So one of the things about the new Tailwind having a simpler default link style is that you always have to ask yourself the question of, do I want to style just this link, or do I want to style out of them? You can see that I styled all of these links around here, but although I didn't style them consistently, I don't know why the Titan link is styled different. And that's one of the things that you need to be careful of when you're working with Tailwind, is that inconsistency. What I'm likely to do is to make all links in here styled that way, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, what I would probably normally do is I would go into my SAS files here, and then I would actually basically apply a style to my links, like a default style of some sort. And so I would end up doing let's see what I have on this one. Whatever I have on this one, I would do that. Those. Like that. I don't think you can apply hover underline though, so I think it would be, can you even apply on hover? I don't know if you can. Let's just see if that works. So yeah, that would be the goal there. And we might find that by doing that, it then breaks these links up here, which is actually super likely. But let's just see how it treats us. All right, so while we wait on that, what we're going to do next. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do is update the modules so that they don't use, oh, okay, so that worked fine. That works fine. So we can actually now go pull. It didn't break anything, so let's just keep it like this. Joe, I'm so sorry. The funny thing is I knew that this stream was coming 24 hours ago, and then I just forgot to tweet about it. And so I need to get better about it. Actually, speaking of that, I never sent out the tweet notice about this one. Oh, I'm killing myself. There's so many steps that it takes to set up a thing, and I need to get processes here. I actually embedded a whole bunch of my processes into my stream deck. So there's like a button that just says, 10 minutes before go live. But even a lot of those things, I have not yet figured out how to automate them. So I'm working on it. But yeah, I just realized I never sent out my "we're live now" thing, and now it's 22 minutes in the stream. So now I feel dumb doing it. So oh well. Oh well, where is Ignition? This is Laravel 5.8, and I'm going to upgrade it to Laravel 6, but not live because I don't want y'all to sit. And you can bring Ignition into Laravel 5.8, but I just that's not really how I want to spend my time on this relatively limited stream. So upgrade to Laravel 6. Saw this recently. A not class. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in CSS when you learn some of those exclusions. Anything within braces in CSS tends to be fun and clever. All right, what was I doing? I was getting rid of those treatments on some of the links there because we don't need them anymore. So they're going to have these by default because of what I just added there. And then, okay, these are the ones. I couldn't find them because they're in the translation level. So some of the things on these we just brought in, and some of them we didn't. Text color we did as well. All right, and then, yeah, this is one of the times where I think it's likely that globally styling my links is going to be something that I do at the beginning of every project, so I don't have to go through this process right here, because this is one of the more annoying things when you're dealing with Tailwind. It would help if my class lists were ordered consistently, but I've found that while I'm good at ordering them consistently later, I'm very bad at ordering them consistently as I'm writing them. So, oh well. All right, so almost done with this. I'm sure you all are completely captivated by this process. Okay, cool. I think we're done now. Yep, all right. We don't have unnecessary classes in all these, and they still work the way they were before. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is update this module page, and we want its URL to no longer be served by the ID, but instead by the slug. So first of all, we don't have a slug. So let's throw a quick commit for where we were there. And so what have we done? We've done actually a few things. So last time I mentioned the fact that when I'm actually programming, I don't do these giant commits. So I'm going to show you what it looks like for me to do it. What I like to do is incremental commits that are the individual thing you did. So rather than, oh, well, I've been working for 10 minutes, so I'm going to commit everything I've done for the last 10 minutes. So this one right here would be fix route with locale helper to allow non-array params. Yeah, it would be a param. So that's one. And then in here, we added default link styles. And we also, that actually would affect our modifications in here. And not here or here or here, okay? Just whip it. Yeah. So if anybody's not familiar with the concept of whip, there's the idea that whip means work in progress, WIP. And a lot of people say that commits doesn't matter. Just always just commit everything you're doing on, type the word whip, and just don't even worry about it. And it's funny, if you were to look at my blog, the way I live blogged at Laracon, because I have a static site generator, so I have to be committing the code, is every minute or every 15 seconds, whatever I had been typing, it would just commit it with a commit of whip. So during that live blog, there was like 100 commits in a row that were just the word whip. But I do like to, especially for open source repos where other people are going to be looking at it, I really like to try to differentiate these out a little bit. All right, so add default link styles. And then what we've done here is basically add the stub for modules, index, and show pages. Okay, cool. So let's push it up. And then now what are we doing? We are going to modify our module. So basically, when you're doing this route model binding here, there's both in terms of, where is it? Okay, so in terms of how this thing right here defines the module, but then also how, this was modules index, how the route generates the URL. It's going to be based on what the Eloquent object thinks its route key is. And the route key by default is the ID, but that's actually something you can customize. It's always a method I forget, but it's something like get route key or something like that. And you just return something else. So if this is the right one, I don't know if it is, this will break because we haven't created that slug thing yet. So that's probably not what it is. It might actually just be route key or something. I'll look it up in a second. I don't actually remember. Maybe it is get route key, but yeah, I'll have to look it up in a second. Yeah, it is get route key. Okay, so that's where I kind of thought I had that right. This get attributes, get route key name. Oh, that's what it is. Get route key name is the name of the yeah. Get route key. There you go. Okay. So get route key allows you to do it without passing the name of a column. So I could actually just be like, the route key for this Eloquent object is blah blah blah, but that means they would all have that. So that allows you to do it. But you can, like, for example, build a route key without actually being a direct reference to Eloquent column. But what we want is get route key name. And so now we need to create this slug parameter so that we can actually use it as the route key. So for now, we're just going to handle it all manually. James says, hey, Matt, I'd like to love to listen to you in the Laravel podcast. I always wonder how you guys code, and it's good to watch you live for the first time. Welcome. What you will learn is I am a complete bumbling idiot, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. Make migration, add slug to modules table equals modules. Add slug to modules table, and then we're going to add our table string slug, and we'll say it's not nullable because that would not work well. And then we also need to go to our modules factory now and give it a slug. And there's a way what I want to do, I want to actually slugify the company. So there's two things I want to do here. One, I want to remember how to get, so in a closure for this right here, I can actually get what we already have, but I don't remember if it is like this. and then I have access to it, or what. But the other thing is I want Slugify. So I've often built a Slugify method on my own, but I kind of think there was like a Laravel string helper that allows you to do that on your own, so you don't have to build it yourself. But I can't remember. Stir slug is probably what it is. There you go, stir slug. And I don't think you have to hit the dash. I think it knows the dash by default. So return, we're just going to try this. Stir slug, I think this is what it is, module name. I think that's what it's going to be. All right, so that means that when we generate those, it's going to work. And let's go look at our seeder to ensure that when we're generating those modules, it is going to, yeah, it's not. So we need to do slug, and then it's going to be stir slug module name. And then since we are in a name, oh, we're not in a namespace class here either. Okay, cool, so we're good. Okay, so I think in theory that might be enough. Let's go check it out. Import stir. You don't have to import stir because we're not namespaced. So the Laravel's facades are globally namespaced, aliased to be in the basic thing. And Vince, I know you this, but I'm explaining for anybody else. So the only time you need to import them is when you are in a namespace class. Pancake Beta and Wilbur both told me it's stir slug. Thank you so much. I just wasn't looking at the screen. Might be good to make the slug field unique. That's a great idea. Thanks, Jonas. Thank you, James. I can be both awesome and a bumbling idiot at the same time, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so what we were doing, we're going over to our migration. Just add slug to modules table, and we're going to make it unique. And I kind of think that might be enough. Let's just do a migrate fresh seed. So remember, I have a lot of shortcuts. I'm going to try to stop using them. So MFS is going to be migrate, or PHP artisan migrate fresh. And then we're going to do it with a seed. So what fresh does is instead of running all the down migrations and then the up migrations, what it's instead going to do is going to try to run truncate your entire database and then run the migrations and then run the seeders. So let's see how that treats us. No errors, go team. Not found, which is actually good because there should be no module with a slug of 1. There should be modules with other slugs, like build a basic website. Go team! Look at us. We're so good at this. Oh my god. Oh, I'm so proud of us. So yeah, so we did that. So now we have module / build a basic website, module / basic terminal and version control, Eloquent for WordPress developers. That is so cool. Like, look at us. I'm so proud of us clipping that. I know that Twitch people clip things. I don't fully understand the context, but my guess is what it means is you're going to take a little video of me doing that little idiot dance, and it's going to be easier for people to access. So that's fun. I'm learning so much about Twitch these days. Okay, so exactly. Thanks, Jake. All right, so we've got modules. We've got all the individual modules that I should work through here. I don't know if we have the concept of completed or not, but we would probably want to pull in the list of my completed modules here so that we can then diff each of these against it to see whether we should consider it like done or not. Let's actually just do that real quick because I want to start thinking about completion on these. So let's assume that on each of these modules here, we want to know whether or not I've completed it. So what I'm imagining right now is basically like a disabled checkbox. This is not what the UI is going to be in the end, but this is just let's get this information on the page. And so by default, they'll all be unchecked until this is a checked module. And so what we need to know is, has this person checked off this module? And remember that the checked offness, we could pull it off the module itself by looking for like the completions in the module, but that means every single module will then have to do that lookup. And on this page could get super slow. So what I'd rather do is clips.twitch.tv sparkly, snappy, Dunlin, C-clam champ. I'm guessing that's the 30-second clip of me dancing like an idiot. That's going to be fun. What I'd like to do is have one single list. And the two different ways to get one single list is either A, when you're pulling in your modules, pull them with their completions, or B, pass in a list of all the completed modules. I believe that we already built a completed module. Look at this. We already built a completed modules method on the user last time. So let's just do this. I don't know if this is actually what I want the syntax to be in the end, but let's just use it since we've got it. So, oops. I'm very used to using all these helpers, and I have to now start remembering which of these global helpers are going to start going away, but I think it's just the string and array one, so I'm going to keep using auth. Almost 100% sure on that. Yeah, I figured that was a randomly generated URL. It just took me a second to figure out why. All right, so we got auth user completed modules. Okay, cool. So in theory, there's going to be this thing in here called completed modules that we can then check this against. And so what we're basically want to do is basically, if this module is in completed modules, then, and interestingly, we don't need the full module. We actually only need the module IDs, right? So let's save ourselves a little bit of weight here. And what we can do is by putting the parens on here, instead of it getting the completed modules, it's now just built a SQL query for us. So we can say something like, I think pluck ID is how it works. And I think that's the one where it does both a select ID and then it returns only an array of those IDs, so that it's a faster query. It's not hydrating Eloquent objects, and we now should hopefully have an array of just that. Let's actually, before we actually do this, let's go check that I'm right, that that's actually what we're talking about. Some completed modules. Let's see, what do we get there? Nothing, because I don't have any modules that are completed. So let's, all right, I have a sensor one, sensor, boom, look at me. I'm going to pull open Table Plus, because every time I pull it up, you see a list of all my clients, which I actually don't love. So I'm going to open up my local Valet instance, and then I am going to pull open the database for OnRamp, and then I will hit my button. Look at me, I'm so fancy. All right, so let's go to completion. So I want to have completed user ID 1, completable ID 1, completable type is going to be app / module. Create that. So one of the things I miss about SQL Pro is you could do now and now, and I don't think you can do it in here. So let's see. So in theory, we should have a completed one now. There we go. Okay. So in that completed one, all we have is the ID. So if we hadn't done pluck ID, what we instead would have gotten here was the fully hydrated Eloquent object. Zuzan, I'll answer that in just 1 second. But we don't actually need that fully hydrated Eloquent object. So this is allowing us to have both a simpler syntax, because we just have an array, which means it's going to be easier to work with in our template here. But also, it's going to be a shorter query because it's A, pulling less data from SQL, and then B, it is not hydrating the Eloquent objects. I'm not using SQL Pro. SQL Pro is wonderful and fantastic, and I love it, and it still has some things over Table Plus. However, they had a really big bug that they introduced a while back, where if you closed any window in SQL Pro, the whole thing would shut down, and it's been broken for so long that almost everybody I know has switched over to Table Plus. On the Pro side, Table Plus can handle a lot more other types of connections. So I used to have multiple database apps, like when I needed to connect to Redis and MS SQL and stuff like that, and now I can just do them all through one. On the downside, Table Plus costs money, and some of the features that I'm used to in SQL Pro, not many, but some aren't there yet. But they seem to be really responsive, and so in general, most people I know who've switched over to Tables Plus are happy. So, okay. So we've got that, and so now check out. I had used Navitat, and it felt kind of clumsy. I had gotten it for super cheap. That's the only reason I had it. It's very good, but I think for like casual use, I had felt like it's a little bit clumsy. Is it maybe Java based? Is that why I thought that way? I can't remember why. I think I remember I used it maybe because it was Postgres enabled or something like that, but I can't remember for sure. But maybe I'll give it another look. Thanks, Draken3. All right, so what we want to do is only check this one off if it is in the completed modules list. So you basically want to say something like completed modules contains, I think, and then this would be module ID. I think that's how we want to do it. And so basically, if the list of completed modules contains the ID of this particular module, then show the checked. Checked is a different syntax depending on what browser you're working in, but I think this is the most, this is the way to do it that works in the most of them. So let's just check that out and see if that works. Oops, get rid of that die and dump. Dump and die. I can still see through your sensor. You can still see through my sensor. This is the sensor. You should be able to see the word censored. And this is where we are now. I don't think you can see through it, but I'd be very curious to see if you could see through something I don't think you can see through. If anyone has set app, they have Table Plus included in the subscription. Okay, and look at that. That one's checked off, that one's not checked off, and those are not checkboxes. And I guess now that we have those as checklists, we technically don't need these bulleted lists, but who cares? So we'll eventually show the UI in there, but this is cool because now we have the ability to see what our modules are, to know which modules we've already finished, to pick the modules that are next. And we go to the module, and we now have the ability to convert this module to look like that page we're building, that we built earlier. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of things on our plates. We both are seeing to-do text, although I don't think I'm going to write descriptive text while we are all coding together. But there's also this, convert this to look like our Tailwind sample module page. That might be the next thing we work on. We also had mentioned the fact, though, that we want to be able to order these modules. And right now, they're purely ordered based on the ID, based on when they were seeded. So if we later come back in and want them to be ordered differently, that's a thing. The problem is we had not yet figured out whether we want the order of the modules to be different depending on the track. And I think the answer is no. And I hope the answer is no, because to have a different order depending on which track you're in would move that order into the pivot, which is more complicated to work with. So, okay, so we've got our modules list page. I presume that what we're going to do is get rid of the learn page. So let's get rid of the learn page here and replace it with this modules list page. So let's go out of here. Routes web, thank you. Get rid of the learn controller, and then let's go take a look at that learn controller and see what we actually like about it. Okay, so it's pulling its stuff. We have the locale. It's a reminder that we have this locale helper, and also a reminder to do all this text with translations. I'm happy for that reminder because I have not been doing that. Okay, for real, why do you have a lounge chair in your office? That is not a lounge chair. That is a couch. I have a couch in my office because I'm a business person and I have meetings in here, but also just because sometimes I want to go sit and read or work on an iPad or something like that to switch it up. Also, you know what? One of the things I did last time was I made this. Hey, yo, look, and now you can see more of my office, including, I didn't get the joke, Victor. Pointing's hard. You can see practical Vim sitting on the floor. You can see all my kids' drawings that I have not hung up yet. You can see a monitor box for a monitor I'm not using, and you can see that I just got a Deadpool Funko for my birthday. Couch is mandatory. All right, back to sharing. Okay, cool. So we don't need the learn controller anymore, and we actually don't need that learn document anymore, although one of the steps we're going to need to take is to basically ensure all content from the master branch learn.en and learn.es files make it into the eventual DB-backed version. But we don't need them anymore, so we can delete them so we're not kind of leaving all that stuff sitting around. And that means all those links that we have to that learn thing, which are probably going to be in layout/app.blade.php, yep, right here. We will now want that to go to the modules index page. Only notice your tweet now is so busy building a Laravel app of my own. Well, one thing you missed, Chris, and hey, thanks for joining, was that I forgot to hit the button that says live now, just because I'm bad at remembering all the different processes I'm doing here. So, okay, so did that break everything? No. When I go to home, it still takes me home. When I hit learn, it takes me here, and I bet you this learn right here is not going to work. Yeah. Okay. So let's. Interestingly, I actually think that let's learn is embedded into the translation. Now that I think about that. Oh man, I always forget where those translation files live. I always think it's going to be lang en.json. Wait, where's let's learn go? Is let's learn? Oh, maybe that page isn't translated. That's why. That would be what? Welcome blade.php. This page isn't translated yet. That's why. So let's turn it into a route with locale modules.index. Oh, there's another link that we don't have to apply those styles to. Go team. Let's learn. Boom. Modules index. Okay, great. So, so we've got our modules index here. It's now the default page we go to when we're learning. If we switch to Spanish, it just says modules. So let's start by, well, see, that's the thing is I don't want to add the translation for modules yet because I don't know whether that's actually the text that's going to be up there. So let's just add a link to audit all new pages on the MAS database fact for final text, and then convert it all to language calls. What desk do you use? I have the earliest days standing sit-stand desk. What is it called? I don't know, but it's just like if you imagine a desk that's two metal legs, a broad bamboo top, and then one of those little tiny little things with an up button and a down button. It's that. It's the earliest days of those back before they were affordable, unfortunately. But it's a wonderful desk. Very happy with it. One last word. Hey, bud. I think that's another hi. I'm supposed to not call them emojis. I'm supposed to call them emotes, is what somebody told me. So that's a hi. I think that's hi. These streams are like 25% Matt talking when muted, 25% Matt trying to figure out what little graphics are from Twitch, 25% Matt typing code that would have worked in previous versions of Laravel that doesn't work right now, and then 25% like actual real stuff. For example, barf, 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 that apparently is not barf. It's a hey emote. Okay, thanks, bud. One last word is a friend of mine who is a more active Twitch streamer. You can tell the active Twitch people because they use like Twitch stuff. Okay. So what are we doing next? We have 13 minutes left. We've made pretty good progress. Let's see if we can throw the basic module page in here. I think that would be cool to do. So let's take a look at what we've done right now. We've done quite a bit. So, all right. First thing we did was deleted, that's actually not the first thing, but we deleted the old learn page. So let's see what things we did in that direction. I think that's those, yep. Delete the old learn page / route. And then we modify modules to use slug for RouteKey. And then we, oops, missed that in the last one, undo. Modify module slug, okay, great. And then we show completed status by modules on the index page. Okay, cool. All right, active Twitch streamer checks dashboard. Last stream was 2 months ago. Okay, well, at one point you were a very regular Twitch person. Okay, look at this. We're adding all sorts of new items in here and not actually completing any of them, but that's okay because this is what we're in the midst of the start building the UI for it element. Okay, so what were we doing? We were going to see if we could grab that sample page that I built out in the public directory. I can't remember its name, or I'd be not using the mouse to click around for it. Oh, it's because it's not in this branch. That's why. All right, so let's go over here and throw out our public directory and the sample module.html. You probably said already, but what Git GUI are you using? It seems so minimal and clean. I like it. So this is the GitHub Desktop app. GitHub Desktop is the first GUI that I've ever used that provides things that I don't like doing in the desktop or on the command line. So first of all, I think it's really great. Second of all, I think that for those of us who are command line nerds, as you could see, like I made a commit and then I undid the commit very, very easily. And I would have had to like remember what the syntax is for that. So there are actually a lot of things, especially when it comes to staging different pieces of it, that are so much easier in here. So I still use the command line for most things, but the moment I'm like staging individual pieces or undoing things or something like that, I'm actually really, really, really happy with this UI. All right, so here is our thing that we did. So let's go right in here, and this is kind of where my this fake Tailwind version of it that I built was. So let's come in here. So git commit amend would have worked, but it would have been a lot slower, right? So I would have git add the other file and then git commit amend, and then I would have modified the thing. I guess it wouldn't have been that much slower, but it would have definitely been slower if I wanted the people who are watching me to know what they were doing. And if everybody doesn't know, if you're working on the desktop and you did something in Git you want to change, you can make the change to it. And then, assuming you haven't pushed the commit up, you say git commit -- amend, and whatever changes you just staged now get applied to your previous commit. And you can also change the language when you do that. All right, so what am I doing? Okay, I have this, and I want to go to the module show page, and I want to throw this in here. And this is going to look kind of janky at first, but we're just going to kind of start with it and then see what we can start replacing with real content. I like having the diff visual in GitHub. I do too, Richard. I 100% do. All right, so let's go in here. This is all of a sudden going to look pretty janky. You know, it doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to look, but we don't need that wrapper. So let's get rid of our wrapper, which is, I believe, this right here. And then, wow, there's a lot of divs in here. And then that, and okay, cool. So this is kind of what we're aiming for. So the next step is to fill this out with the real content. So what's the simplest thing for us to pull off of a module? It's probably going to be its skills. And what we want to do is for our topics or section of tasks, let's just call it skills for now. So we want to do for each, oh, how on earth did these all get two spaced? Killing me. Okay, what is the easiest way? What did I do wrong there? What's the easiest way to change 2 spaces to 4? Actually in any editor, now that we're talking about it that way. Is that better? Okay. I feel like there's a way to retab it. Does anybody know how to retab it? Yeah. I don't have prettier configured here for my HTML. There's a way to do it, and I'm trying to remember. I don't know if you can just do this. No, yeah, all doing that did was just have these ones all complain. Yeah, there's a way to do it in the UI, in Sublime Text. So I guess I'm more asking Sublime Text people. Yeah, I'm going to be annoyed if I don't fix this, but I also don't want us to all waste our time in this. It's usually called reformat, Command-Shift-F. Okay, I'll try that. Handy. Command-Shift-F is fine. What you're saying, spaces 2. I think the spaces 2 is just the display. Oh, convert invitations to tabs. And then if we convert it back, tab size 4, and then we convert it back to spaces, that might do it. Hey, yo! Look at us! Oh, through brute force, we figure these things out. Thanks, everybody. All right. All right, much better. By much better, I say tabs are better, spaces fight me. Not seeing anybody here actually disagrees with that, but okay, it looks like I feel like this is actually an indentation issue, not that we're missing a div, but for now I'm just going to close this out and see if it breaks it. Because I'd like to actually do real things, not just spend my whole time editing HTML in here. All right, so we were going to go into our skills here. I'm going to say for each, actually, hold on, let's see if this breaks the UI. Does it look okay, or does it look like something didn't close? It looks okay so far. All right. Tabs are the most accessible tabs. Yeah, tabs are so much better in spaces, and the decision to go to spaces instead of tabs was my #1 criticism I've ever had of the PHP fig. Okay, and I have criticisms, so that's my first and biggest. For each module, skills as skill, and then end for each, and then we're just going to keep the syntax exactly the same for now. And we're going to run that same n+1 problem we did before, where if every single skill checks whether it's valued or not, then it's going to very quickly become a problem. So we're going to have to figure out how to grab the cheapest way to grab the completions while we're also looking up the skills. So this is going to be probably something like skill name is my guess. So let's just kind of see where that takes us. Hey, yo, look at that. Okay, and then we've got to figure out how are we going to handle bonus skills, because we have not figured that out. So to do handle bonus skills, because I don't know, we haven't figured out exactly what it's going to look like. We don't have a lot of time right now. Okay, On the other hand, prettier for every language, uses spaces, who cares about minor formatting anywhere? Yeah, that would make more sense if I had prettier set up on this. How about that troll post in Stack Overflow, the developers use tab makes 15K more? I have not seen that, but I think tabs are better, so I'm not mad at it. Matt first tabs, log out and follow Burns books. Basically, yeah, tabs are better. I have yet to hear a compelling argument for why spaces. Literally, the only argument I've ever heard for why spaces are better is because it looks better in GitHub, and that was believe it was a temporary thing that's not the case anymore, where they handled tabs really poorly in their display, and it was fixable with a Stylify or whatever browser plugin. Okay, 5 minutes. So we've got our skills in here. Are those all skills that we have? I guess they are. So we haven't handled bonus skills, so I'm just going to drop a little bonus in there. My guess is what we're going to have to do is create a for each bonus skills and non-bonus skills, which I don't love. So I'm a little tempted to get rid of this concept of bonus right now, but I'm not going to make that decision right now. Spaces are better when you're paid by the byte. Touche. All right, so we don't have quizzes or exercises right now. So for right now, we're just gonna put a hard pass on these buckaroos. Actually, let's use Eloquent comments instead. I'm literally going to use HTML comments instead of Eloquent comments so that my IDE handles it better. Judge me. I'm judging myself. All right, cool. So those are our skills, and then for our resources. So right now, I don't think we have an easy way to do scopes down to free resources. It's when the tab. Oh yeah, no matter what you pick, just pick. Mixed tabs and spaces make my brain hurt. So okay, so let's. Also, I have 4 more minutes. I'm going to cut a little bit more, but remember, I made some changes to the layout of the crop on my camera and also the layout of this thing. So I would love for you all just to think on your brain for a second. If I were to make any changes on this, what would the changes I would make? Do you want wider chat? Do you want the differently cropped video? Would you like me to try and zoom up things, or is this all kind of making you all comfortable? All right, so my guess is the best way we're going to handle free resources is we're going to have to be either doing a lot of scopes on the resource object, so we can scope down to free versus paid, video versus whatever else, or we're going to be doing a lot of inline collection wrangling. But what that tells me is what I probably want to do is get the full list of resources once and then pass it in here. So there's 2 ways to do that. One of them would be basically to just say resources equals module resources. I don't really like pulling those things and making Eloquent queries in the middle of a template. So in that one, what I would do is basically just say, I don't want just the module, I also want the resources. And I'm a little torn on the best way to handle this. So if any of y'all look at this and go, no, there's a way better way to do that, let me know. But what I'm imagining is that because we're going to be in each of these different sections, we're going to be filtering this list of resources differently. I want to pull it once and then have each of these basically just filtering and rejecting and stuff like that. Can you make the chat slightly larger? Sure. Now, do you mean a bigger font, Susanna, or do you mean wider, or do you mean both? One last word, I like the layout. Thank you. Pick an editor config, make sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. I need to start using editor config is really the big deal. We use this editing tool called tlint that Titan put out that handles most of this linting for us, and almost all of us have it set up in our IDs, but it doesn't cover quite as many things as Prettier does. It's more about syntax than it is about spacing and tabs. Vince, what if you made the chat only show the few at the bottom with the larger text to make your screen bigger and the camera overlap slightly? I've seen those. I don't love the fact that you can only see 1 or 2 messages because I'm joining Twitch and YouTube. Often this little chat display on the left is the only thing people can see to see the full chat history. I don't feel like it needs to be that big, but I don't really have any other great ideas yet. Weird Unicode spaces. How about hiding the doc? Hiding the doc won't actually help that much. I mean, I can do it, but one of the things I have been doing is trying to see if I can what's it called? But yes, you're right. I should hide the doc. So let's do that. Hide the doc. But what I'd like to do is I've considered a lot of people will constrain everything they're doing to a small subset of the screen so they can make it bigger. I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid as many steps to set up as possible, but also make it look good. Bigger font, says Zuzana. Pull all, then transform group collection. Exactly what I was thinking, Richard. Okay, so I just want to test something. I kind of think, nope, never mind. I'm not going to do that. I was going to say, I kind of think I can reskin the chat right now, but I think it's not worth it. So, all right, I will try and make the chat have a bigger font. And that makes sense. I'm even kind of skimming a little bit to look at it. Okay, so real quick, let's see if we can do our first one here. So I'm not actually going to stick with this. Let's just say, just like for test purposes. But it would be cool if we could say free resources equals resources. You know, you can't really do a, I was going to say scope, but you can't scope it once you've already done the query. So you're actually going to have to do like a filter. And I think it is paid false, something like that. So what we'd end up doing is basically when you're for eaching, actually, we might actually save this in the template, because in here, then you're also going to filter it again down to only those that match a certain type. So yeah, that's probably what we will pick up on next time, is working through. So basically, this is really our next step, which is, I don't know how best to do next step now that we have this, like, oh, that's not what I was trying to do. This very large thing. It's basically, I guess this is where we are right now. Oops. Which is finish building, putting real data in the modules show page. Been a long time since I've done Laravel, even longer since I used Blade. Yeah, I believe it. At PHP, yeah. Can you group them? I'm not sure what you mean by that. You mean do a for each over each of the free and the types? If so, probably, yeah. So I don't know if that's exactly what Jonas was asking, but one thing we'll probably end up doing is something like this, where you say for each, you know, free, paid, or actually it'd probably be true, false, because what basically we're going to do is do resources equals resources filter, and then this one, and then this one. So you're basically going to do the first one is going to say, but then the problem with doing it that way is when you want a title up top that says free resources, this for each that you're building gets more and more complicated. So we might do that, we might not. Okay, let's just actually run this real quick and just see. What we get. Filter must be callable. No, I thought you could do that syntax I did there. This filter, maybe it's like where. Oh, that's what it is. Where is page false? So in theory, these should be the two resources that are free. So let's see if we go true. Do we get the inverse? Do we get none? So is it true that all of our resources that are under basic version, terminal and version control? So that's module 2. All the resources for module 2, are they both? Yep. So if we were to change this one, would that now? Nope. So something's not working there. So this right here is probably not the right syntax. Array of collections of views, yeah. So what we need to do next time is figure out basically, if it doesn't syntax highlights imaginary PHP. That's true. That's everything in Blade. Yeah, and that's why I don't actually like to do this. I don't think this is the right way to do things most of the time, although sometimes to create inline temp variables, it actually is the right decision. But often when you're doing that, that's a smell that you need to extract a Blade partial. Wait, do we need to separate free and paid resources? I'd rather make the decision based on what makes the most sense in terms of layout, not based on what's easiest to code. And right now, my brain tells me that's the easiest to code. But if somebody disagrees with that, or that's the easiest, that was what makes the most sense. Because I think the vast majority of people coming through this aren't going to want paid resources. So I would really like for them to be separated. But I'm open to the difference. 900p res, what voodoo? I don't even know what the different different resolutions are. So Chris, you're gonna have to tell me later what that means relative to what you're expecting, and even what you just saw on my page that made you notice that. Hey, welcome from Georgia, from Kazakhstan. Okay, so I am past time. I was trying to get this working. Let me stop looking at the chat for a second and try to get this working. So when I look at the resources, let's just real quick look at my resources. One of them should be paid, one of them should be free if I'm looking at this correctly. Okay, so resource 1, attributes, is free is false. Resource 2, attributes, is paid, is free is true. Oh, it's is free, not is paid. That's why. Jeez, I hate that kind of stuff. All right, so maybe once we do this, we will then get what we expect. Array of 1, and it should be the free one. Yep, and then array of 1, it should be the paid one. Boom, there we go. I saw on the quality setting, usually it's 720p or 1080p at 1440 by 900 res. So what I am on right now, Jake Bathman knows a lot about streaming, so I'm going to trust him. What I'm on right now, honestly, is when you go to the system settings in your Mac, then you just go to the scale down the lowest. That's what I'm on because I found that one to be a pretty decent resolution. But I don't know. Today I learned sweet, says Jonas. I don't know what today you learned. Maybe this right here? That's what you learned? Or maybe it's the quality settings. I'm not sure. So, okay. So in theory, we've got our free resources thing here. It might actually not be for test purposes because so basically what we would do here is something like, free resources. And then we would basically where type is video or something like that. And I don't remember exactly what that is, but I think that's what we're going to be working on next time. So that is it for now. Thank you all for coming to hang out. Let's commit this. And the life without the doc is very weird. But you're right, it does give us more space to work with. So I will try and remember to do that next time. So what did we change? We copied in the Tailwind module layout for eventual filling with real data. All right, push that up. We know what we're going to do next time. If you stick to standard resolutions like 1080p, you avoid text scaling issues. Thanks, Susanna. Thanks, Wilbur. Thanks, Azathoth. Thank you all for showing up. And then let's do this. Okay. I really enjoyed hanging out with you all. Thank you all for coming to hang out with me. I'm going to try and get to the point where I can look at the camera and talk to you all at the same time.